Hello and welcome back. I'm so happy you're here. And obviously, I'm very happy to be here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Um, yeah, welcome to today's episode number six. Episode number six. Today's episode is a fun one. We're going to be talking about uh healing and trauma. Well, we're not actually going to be talking about healing and trauma, but soon I'll explain exactly why. But I think we're going to call today's episode Navigating Life's Symphony of Emotions with Resilience. How do we like that? I love it. Okay, great. So let us get started. The reason I'm diving into this topic is because I, for a very, very long time, thought that I was absolutely broken beyond repair. I thought there was something infinitely wrong with me, intrinsically wrong with me. I thought that once I had been through trauma, I'm broken for life. The psychiatrist had diagnosed me with PTSD. And then when I got C-PTSD, I felt like I got the premium version of a mental illness and I felt super, super, super cool. For those of you out there that have experienced this, you probably know what I mean. Um, so yeah, I had lived my life for a very long time, believing that I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder and dealing with disassociations and dealing with all sorts of triggering events where I would go into disassociations or I would just wind up staring at the wall and absolutely disconnecting from what's happening around me, or just random situations that all of a sudden I'd feel like this inner aggression for no reason, somewhat. So that's what it felt like. I struggled with self-harm for a while. So that was also like when anything triggered me, I kind of felt like I needed to go self-harm. There was a lot of symptoms going on, a lot of dark thoughts. Relationships were a mess. I had no idea how to create relationships with people. I had no idea how to connect with people. Any relationship that I had that started on a healthy level, I just went and messed it up because I was scared. I don't know of what. I mean, I was scared maybe they'd abandon me or maybe they would hurt me, or everything that happened always had this backup to trauma. Like my life was ruled by trauma. Um, and to the degree that I remember when I was younger, like no, more than 5 years ago, probably like 10, 15 years ago. So yeah, I was younger. Sometimes I forget how old I am. I still think I'm like 21. I am 21. For those of you who think that I'm not 21, I am. You can talk to me for those of you that know my real age. Just let's stick with 21. My grandma's still 21, so I can be too, okay? Anyways, I remember when I was younger, I honestly had this really deep feeling that something was intrinsically wrong with me. And I wanted to even tattoo across my back victim, like across my entire back, kind of like when you go to a crime scene and it says caution crime scene. So I wanted to have like that tape, but instead of it saying like crime scene or instead of it saying caution, it would say victim. That was kind of how I saw myself. I kind of just wanted to, it was my way of like thinking that I could warn people, I am a victim. Um, and then ultimately when I started getting, I don't know, call it a little healthier because I don't like that term because I think the entire time soon we're gonna delve into why I believe that I was healthy the whole time and I still am. But let's put that aside right now. You didn't hear anything. Ultimately, when I started kind of getting a little more positive in life, I said, okay, so I'm gonna put warrior. Right now, I'm a warrior because now I'm a survivor of trauma. And that became like the new thing, right? Like there's a song I think by Demi Lovato called Warrior. And that was like my go-to song. That was my song, like the soundtrack of my life. I'm not going to sing it right now. I potentially can, but I'm not going to. Okay. I was about to. So, it's hard for me not to. Anyways, so yeah, that's basically that was the rundown. And I dealt for a really long time. I dealt with a lot of I would avoid going to places for fear of them triggering me. I would avoid doing things lest it trigger me. I didn't date men for 7 years lest they trigger me. I didn't really do much with my life for a very long time lest I do anything that triggers me. And trigger. My life was one big trigger. Everything I did, anywhere I went, like I couldn't go to the grocery store without having panic attacks or without disassociating. And And that was really tough. Okay. That's a really, really challenging way to live. For those of you that have lived like that, or for those of you that know people that live like that, it is not an easy way to live. Your life becomes very, very, very small, or very, very, very uncomfortable, because you don't want to keep it small. So you want to expand, but you're going through these things that are making you supremely and extremely uncomfortable. And you're just muddling through, hoping that you won't have a panic attack this time. Or you won't disassociate, or you won't just all of a sudden have some sort of inner rage that just bubbles up seemingly out of nowhere. There are all sorts of other symptoms that are accompanied by PTSD or complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And slowly I started getting better. Slowly, I worked through a lot of the traumas, which again, I don't think is completely necessary, but I'm not a social worker or a psychologist. So, you know, you do your thing. I'm not telling people to stop going to therapy or stop taking their meds. But I was medicated for a long time as well. And that just turned me into a zombie. So that kind of maybe numbed the triggers of life, but it did turn me into a zombie. It did turn me into, I didn't have a drive for life. I didn't have a thirst for life. I wasn't excited about living. Anyways, okay, long story short, slowly I started getting better. I started working through a lot of this stuff. I don't think it's about working through it, but I started believing that I was getting better. And by that belief, right, because from when I went from that wanting to have victim on my back to thinking that I'm going to have warrior on my back, I think that was even just in my head. I understand that as a tiny bit of a level up. Like, my trauma is not what's going to hold me back. I'm a warrior, even though I've been through traumatic things. Okay, so that was kind of like the next step after being a victim. And today I'm going to just do a huge fast forward, and then we're going to delve in a little bit. Today, I'm not a victim or a warrior. I'm just a humaning through life. Like, I think to me, reaching this place was the ultimate, tapping into the ultimate wholeness within us. I wouldn't say healing, and I wouldn't say recovery, and I wouldn't use any of these words, because what I discovered along the way is that I potentially was okay the entire time. Now, before you start lashing out at me, I mean, you can't lash out at me because this is a recording and I'm sitting here in my kitchen or at my living room table. And so you can't really lash out at me, but you can get back to me if you don't like this, and we can discuss it. But before you do, hear me out. I believe that what was broken was my soul. I believe that my soul was crushed. My heart was crushed, not my physical heart, but my metaphoric heart, where we feel deep inside of us. I guess some people might call it even like the different chakras, or, you know, whatever you want to kind of understand. And I slowly started realizing that it can't be broken, no matter what happens. Because when we look at different stories, when we look at different understandings in life, and different people, how different people deal with traumas and deal with different things that they've been through, because we can have, I mean, we've definitely seen stories. I've definitely seen stories of people that have been through the exact same trauma, exact same. All right, let's just, for example, I don't know a specific example like this, but metaphorically, I'm going to use this as an example. We have twins that grew up in the same exact home. One twin saw that his parents as extremely abusive and extremely not caring and extremely, you know, just mean and not loving. The other one experienced the exact same thing, but he took it to a different place. He took it to a place of, I am not going to pass on this generational trauma or whatever. I'm using very new age psychology terms, but just for like explaining what I mean. But one went and, you know, thrived in life and grew through everything that he's been through, and absolutely tapped into a whole bunch of healthy tools and healthy things, and thrived. And the other one just wound up being a homeless drug addict. Okay. Neither of them are just. I think anything that we turn into be in life is just the wrappings of our soul. And at the end of the day, both of them have identical souls. I mean, they have different souls, but both of their souls are identically whole and healthy. And I remember when I started realizing that because my soul is beyond the physical world. My soul is beyond the materialistic world. It is not a part of this physical beingness in life. And because of that, it cannot and will not ever be damaged. I will say that again, because my soul is beyond the physical realm of this universe, it cannot be damaged. That is the definition of something beyond physical form. It is whole in its essence, always was, always will be. Yes, I may have been through some tough things. And yes, I may have needed some time to feel them and to recognize them and to identify them. That is okay. That is great. That is wonderful. I think there's room for feelings in living in a euphoric universe. There's room for negative feelings. I used a lot of very fancy words right now, so I'm going to bring it down a notch. And basically what I'm saying is that when we go through something challenging, when we go through a trauma, when we go through something that totally feels like it knocked us off our socks, for me, what I do, I stop. Yes, I get upset. Yes, I get sad. Yes, I might get stressed out. I might feel maybe even a little anxious. I might have a lot of thoughts running through my head. I might even have suicidal thoughts running through my head. I might have crazy things running through my head, and I might even disassociate from time to time, right? I might still have all of these symptoms of PTSD or C-PTSD if you got the premium version like me. I said that as a joke with a wink in my eye. If you're not watching this as a video, then just know that I said it with a little bit of a wink. So yes, I still may go through all of those symptoms, but today I can say that the difference in those symptoms is that they no longer scare me, right? It used to be like, oh, it's my PTSD, it's my PTSD. And it was always just like I'm broken, I always will be. Today, it just happens to be that is the natural, I identify that as a natural human response to an experience that may be uncomfortable for me. Period. End of story. No, oh my gosh, it's my post-trauma. Oh my gosh, this is why I'm like this. Why do I have to be that way? If I wasn't that way, I would be able to. No, I don't give all that talk. I don't go there anymore. I just don't go there. I just don't. So yeah, like I think what I'm trying to get at, and I think what I'm discussing is that at the end of the day, no matter what it is that we went through, no matter what it is that we've been through, we can still thrive. And we are still thriving, even if it doesn't feel like we are, even if it doesn't look like we are, even if we want to just stay in bed for 3 days and cry and eat junk and binge watch on Netflix. Even in those moments, there's something deep within us that is okay. Again, there's something deep within us, even in the darkest moments, even in the moments when I'm absolutely crushed and I feel like life is just falling on my head. There's a place inside of me that remembers and that knows I am and always will be okay because my soul is beyond form. And because my soul is beyond form, it is whole and always was and always will be. That doesn't take away the room for emotions. That doesn't take away for the room for the beautiful gift of thought, for the beautiful gift of feelings. No, I feel the things. I feel it. Yes, sometimes I get upset. Yes, sometimes I get sad. Sometimes I mourn. Sometimes I feel absolutely torn. Yes, I do. I still feel those things. It hasn't gone away. But today I see them as gifts. Today I see them as a natural response to going through this human experience. And I think when we learn to not resist the human experience, all of these events and experiences, such as disassociation from post-trauma, such as panic attacks, they become less scary. A panic attack is just a panic attack unless we attach so much more to it, right? It used to be that if I was to have a panic attack, otherwise identified as shortness of breath, or it can manifest in all sorts of ways, right? Shortness of breath, hard time breathing. It almost feels like you're about to pass out. You're seeing stars. You're disassociated. You have no idea what's going on around you. Your thoughts are racing. Maybe you're crying. Maybe you're just manic. Maybe you just need to go out and be on your own and walk frenetically all over the place and just run. And maybe you just need to sit in a corner with your legs folded up, shaking. Maybe you're sweating. Maybe your eyes are open wide and you hear there's noise around it, but you absolutely do not identify what's going on around, whatever it is, okay? The point being is that today, sometimes those types of things will still happen, very much more rarely because I've given them a lot less weight. But when it does happen, I identify it as part of the human experience and not as a malfunction. And when I identify it as part of the human experience, as opposed to a malfunction of the human experience, it becomes a regular part of life, such as, okay, I'll use hiccups for an example. Okay. If I didn't know that hiccups was just a part of a thing that the body experiences at different times, sometimes. Have you ever seen a baby? Like I've seen babies hiccup and they get really scared because they've never had this experience before. They've never experienced their body all of a sudden doing this like weird jump and like a, it's like that was a weird noise that came out of me. I was trying to imitate a hiccup, but a child gets a little bit like, oh my gosh, what is this? I've never felt this before. But as adults, we know that it's called hiccups. And we know that within a few minutes, it'll go away. Maybe if you hold your breath, hold your nose and hold your breath, maybe it'll go away sooner. So when I identify, I'm going to call it a panic attack, but it's potentially just symptoms of maybe a system overload. As a part of the human experience, it becomes a lot less scary. It's not a malfunction, just as hiccups are not a malfunction. It's just something that happens every now and then. I mean, there's probably a scientific reason that as to why it happens, but I don't know that it's something that we can absolutely 100% avoid for the rest of our lives. It becomes a lot less scary. And it becomes a lot less intense and a lot less dramatic. Whereas if I was having a panic attack and identifying it as a malfunction, oh, that's my PTSD, there's something wrong with me all the time, oh, why does this have to happen? And I start resisting it just as much as like if you resist hiccups and be like, I'm not going to hiccup, but you don't do anything about it, but you just keep focusing on it, it's not going to go away. So when I just identify panic attack as being like, oh, okay, this is a part of the human experience and that is okay, it becomes that in that thought and that acceptance in and of itself gives us a much, much deeper and greater feeling of being okay. Right. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to get at a little bit. I'm going to see what I brought up with ChatGPT because you know how I love to do that a little bit. But basically what the point that I am trying to get across right now is that at the end of the day, even PTSD or even trauma or even something that's really, really, heavy on us or anxiety, when we identify it as okay, as opposed to a malfunction, as opposed to a label, as opposed to something that means I have to fix, I need to take care of it, it becomes a lot less, like a lot of people, I accepted my anxiety. I accepted that I had anxiety, but it was like accepting that I have a crack in me, So like, yeah, I accept it, but I always will have a crack. Whereas today, I don't see it as a crack. It's just like another thing. Like I sometimes will have overwhelming thoughts and they'll get carried away and maybe I'll feel a little bit disassociated or afraid. And just as much as sometimes I'll feel thirsty, I need to drink a glass of water. Needing to drink a glass of water doesn't mean I'm broken, just as much as having racing thoughts doesn't mean I'm broken. It's just a part of the human experience, just like drinking a glass of water. We all need water in our bodies. We all have thoughts running through our heads. And sometimes we drink, okay, I don't know if we drink too much water, so that's not a good example. But yeah, that's basically what I'm getting at. Now, I'm going to jump into, let's see what they have to say. Let's start by exploring the concept that we are never broken. Can you share your insights on how your understanding of trauma plays a role in the perspective that we are never broken? Okay, so I think that's basically what I was trying to explain, is that at the end of the day, I think trauma doesn't mean we're broken. It doesn't mean that there's a crack in us. It doesn't mean we are always whole. And what we go through is just what we go through. It's just a story. does not take away from the heaviness. The heaviness, yes, but the feeling of it and the thoughts of it and the legitimacy of it. Yes, sometimes people go through really, really really really, really horrible things. Okay. I had no way of saying that while keeping this clean. I had a hard time avoiding a bad word. But sometimes people go through really horrible experiences. I'm not taking that away. I am not nullifying that and saying it's not true. Ignore it. You're fine. You're strong. You're resilient. Yes, you're strong and resilient. But yes, we go through hard things. And yes, it's okay to feel down. And yes, it's okay to stay in your bed for 3 days and cry. Okay. I mean, if that's what you want to do. Okay. Sometimes I'll have those moments as well. I'm not perfect. I'm human. But the difference is that even when I'm sitting in my bed for 3 days, binging on Ben and Jerry's and watching Netflix, I haven't had one of those moments in a very long time. Thank God, grateful for that. But it's okay if it would happen. I hope it never will again. But in those moments, what really, 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 really is helpful is to remember that your soul is not broken. Your spirit's not broken. Yes, right now you might be feeling down. And yes, a situation that life is bringing upon you might suck. And it might suck really, really bad. And it's okay to cry. And it's okay to be upset. And it's okay to be really, really, really frustrated. And maybe even sometimes lash out at people that we love. That happens. That happens. Life happens. We're not perfect. And I'm not always going to be super zen. Nope, I'm not. I'm human and I get frustrated and I get upset and I get snappy and yeah, I do. Sorry. Sucks. I know. I'd love to be superhuman, but I'm not. I wouldn't love to be superhuman. I love being human today. But at the end of the day, even when I get into those places, remembering that there's a part of me that's still okay no matter what is really what helps me pull out of those situations. That's never broken. There's a part of me that cannot break. My spirit, my soul cannot break. We can feel absolutely crushed. I've had my heart broken more than once. We can feel absolutely crushed. But at the end of the day, deep down inside of us, what I'm trying to get at and what I'm mostly telling myself and sharing it with you is that we always are and will be whole. We do not need to heal for something that's not broken. PTSD is not a crack in the system. Okay. You can lash out at me for saying it. I'll say it again. PTSD is not a crack in the system. It's not a malfunction. It's just a part of the human experience. Some of us experience it this way. Some of us experience trauma that way. It's just part of our experience of life. It's not prognosis. It doesn't need to determine our future. It doesn't need to determine how we're going to react or respond in every single situation. I no longer have panic attacks when I go into grocery stores. I got back into the world of dating. I used to absolutely avoid men, but for everything, right? I go anywhere I want basically without thinking that I'll have a panic attack. We can feel good in life, even having been through horrible circumstances, even having been through, I would call them difficult because horrible is just how we identify it. But being through challenging circumstances, we can pull out and be okay because there's a part of us that always will and always was and always and is right now whole, healthy, and complete for just being a human in this world having a soul. So on that note, we're going to close off for today. Never forget that you're whole. Never forget that you're healthy. Never forget that you have everything you need inside to absolutely kick this life in the rear end. You can ace at life. You can be huge, expand. You have it in you. And so do I. On that note, we're going to close off for today. Sending out so much love, just a huge hug. And remember that you're amazing just as you are. And you don't need any fixing. And you're perfect. We are perfect as humans. And we're perfectly imperfect. There's no need to be perfect. Okay. Anyways, I got carried away there. Sending out so much love. Thank you for joining me today. If you have a topic that you'd like me to discuss, if you'd like to reach out to me, if you'd like to, whatever you'd like to do, my socials are Coach Chevz, OACHCHEVZ on Instagram, Facebook. If you have my WhatsApp, you can send me a WhatsApp as well. And I'm sending out so much love and so much peace and just a huge, huge virtual hug in all of our wholeness and awesomeness. And ho, 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 ho. Imagine we're doing like a huddle, a group huddle. And whoa. Okay, there we go. Thank you for joining me. And I will talk to you next time.